Inside La Sabaneta, Venezuela's most violent prison exposed. Hit subscribe before this story disappears into the shadows, and trust me, you don't want to be the only one left wondering what really happened behind those walls. The warning whispers out like a cold wind, right as the scene opens on a blistering afternoon in Maracaibo, Venezuela. Sirens howl across the city as 3 armored police trucks tear through traffic, pushing toward the towering walls of La Sabaneta Prison, a place whispered about even among hardened criminals. A place where law bends, order breaks, and truth gets buried under concrete and fear. Inside those walls, something catastrophic has happened. Officers rush through the gates, stepping into a courtyard stained with chaos. The air is thick with smoke from burning debris. Shouts echo from cell blocks, some angry, some terrified. And in the center of it all lies the reason they were called. A man, motionless, his body hidden beneath a sheet, surrounded by prison staff with faces drained of color. His name was Eduardo Rivas, an internal audit clerk assigned to investigate food distribution inside the prison. He wasn't a guard, wasn't a criminal, just a quiet government worker with a folder full of questions. Now he was gone, and everything about the scene felt wrong. The first investigator to arrive is Inspector Daniela Ortega, known for her ability to stay calm in the ugliest cases. But this is different. She kneels beside the sheet, lifting a corner carefully. The moment she sees Eduardo's condition, her jaw tightens. No struggle marks. No bruises. No broken bones. Whatever happened to him was quick, silent, and deeply intentional. A death like this, inside La Sabaneta, means one thing. Somebody wanted him silenced before he could expose something. Ortega stands, scanning the courtyard. The inmates watching from barred windows aren't shouting or protesting, they're waiting, observing, almost studying her. There's an eerie tension, as if the entire prison is holding its breath. 2 guards approach her, exchanging nervous glances. This wasn't supposed to happen, one mutters. What wasn't supposed to happen? Ortega asks. Silence. Then he started asking about the kitchen logs, about where the food shipments were going. Said numbers didn't match. Ortega frowns. She had read the initial report. Eduardo believed large amounts of food were being siphoned off or diverted. But stealing supplies wasn't new in troubled prisons. What she didn't expect was a clerk turning up dead 48 hours after filing his preliminary findings. She follows the guards through a narrow hallway into the heart of the kitchen wing. The corridors are dim, fluorescent lights flickering overhead. Pots clatter in the distance. The smell of stale grain and metal hangs in the air. When they push open the heavy kitchen doors, she sees what Eduardo had been investigating. The shelves are nearly empty. For a prison housing thousands, there should be stacks of rice, beans, flour, staples that keep inmates fed. Instead, Ortega sees row after row of missing supplies. She runs her fingers across the dust on a shelf. Where is everything? She asks. The guard swallows hard. We ration what we can. Ration? Or divert? He doesn't answer. Then Ortega spots something Eduardo must have seen. A clipboard hanging crookedly on a hook. Log sheets. Sloppy handwriting. Numbers erased, rewritten. Entire sections missing. And at the bottom, Eduardo's signature on the last audit entry. Just as she pulls the sheet free, a cold draft sweeps through the room. A door slams in the hallway. Footsteps shuffle. Someone is watching her. She turns sharply. Who's there? No answer. But she feels it. The pressure of eyes in the shadows. The heavy awareness that Eduardo's death was only the beginning. When she steps into the storage room connected to the kitchen, she notices something strange. The freezer door, normally locked, hangs slightly open. Frost spills across the floor. Inside, stacked behind crates of frozen vegetables, she finds a black duffel bag. She unzips it halfway. Her breath catches. Bundles of documents. Labeled. Organized. Hidden. But before she can examine them, a voice cuts through the silence behind her. You shouldn't be in here, Inspectora. She freezes. Because the voice belongs not to a guard, not to a staff member, but to a high-ranking inmate with the authority of someone who isn't supposed to walk freely in restricted areas. A man known for running things in La Sabaneta that guards pretend they don't see. He smiles, stepping into the light. "You're asking the wrong questions," he says. Eduardo learned that too late. Ortega grips the duffel bag as he steps closer. "And if you open that bag," he whispers, "everything changes." Inspector Daniela Ortega doesn't flinch, though every instinct screams at her to back away. The inmate blocking the doorway, Rafael El Cardinal Zamora, is a man whose reputation is spoken about in low tones even among veteran officers. His influence inside La Sabaneta is so deep that guards themselves avoid confronting him unless absolutely necessary. Yet here he stands, inside a restricted freezer room, beside evidence Eduardo Rivas died for. Ortega keeps her voice steady. "Step aside, Zamora. I'm taking this bag." His smile flickers, amused. "Then you should know what comes with it." Eduardo thought he could expose the kitchen operation. He didn't understand the rules. He leans closer. "Every corner of this prison has a price, Inspectora. Even information." She tightens her grip on the duffel bag and pushes past him. Zamora doesn't stop her. He only watches, his eyes cold and calculating, as if tagging her as his next problem. Back in the hallway, Ortega signals the guards. Escort him back to his cell. But when they look over her shoulder, Zamora is already gone. Vanished. Which makes no sense. There's only one hallway, one exit. No unlocked rooms. Ortega feels a chill. La Sabaneta isn't just chaotic, it's controlled. Managed. Directed by someone with influence on both sides of the bars. She returns to the administrative office and shuts the door. Only then does she unzip the duffel bag fully. Inside are shipping invoices missing from the official logs. Lists of inmate names with coded markings. Vendor receipts showing inflated costs. Stolen food quantities far beyond simple smuggling. And at the bottom, a USB drive taped to a file labeled Kitchen Redistribution Plan, internal only. Ortega exhales slowly. Eduardo wasn't investigating petty theft. He was investigating an organized criminal pipeline, food supplies diverted, resold, and laundered through falsified accounts. Millions of dollars siphoned quietly under the guise of prison shortages. A racket too big for any inmate to run alone. She plugs in the drive. Surveillance screenshots flash across the screen, grainy, time-stamped, documenting the loading bay at odd hours. Trucks arriving without authorization. Guards meeting drivers. Food leaving the prison, not entering. Then another folder. Threat notes. Inside are scans of handwritten warnings sent to Eduardo in the days before he died. Drop the audit. Stop asking questions. This place has rules you don't understand. The last one is more chilling than the rest. The kitchen belongs to us. Walk away before we decide for you. Ortega rubs her temples, her pulse quickening. Eduardo didn't walk away, he was removed. There's a knock on the door. A junior officer enters, pale. Inspectora, you need to see this. She follows him back to the courtyard. Guards have gathered around something pinned to the fence with a kitchen knife. As she gets closer, her chest tightens. It's a note, written with steady, careful handwriting. We know what you took. We know where you are. The rules apply to you too. Under the message lies a small package wrapped in food service plastic. She unwraps it. Inside is Eduardo's missing ID badge. The meaning is unmistakable. Whoever killed Eduardo now has their eyes on her. The prison director, Colonel Vargas, arrives moments later, his face tight. He pulls Ortega aside. We need to be careful, he says. This entire prison is a powder keg. If news gets out the kitchen supply is compromised, we'll have a riot. Ortega narrows her eyes. Colonel, are you telling me to bury this? I'm telling you to prioritize safety. Yours.
Mine.
Everyone's. Investigate quietly if you must. But don't make this bigger than it needs to be. She steps closer, lowering her voice. Eduardo died for this. Someone murdered him. Someone inside this prison. And you're asking me to look the other way? He looks at her, jaw tight. I'm asking you to survive. Before she can respond, the power suddenly cuts out. Lights flicker, then die. A siren blares across the prison. Emergency red lights bathe the courtyard in a dark, pulsing glow. Then a guard shouts from the West Wing. Cell block C is breached. Chaos erupts. Inmates shouting, guards scrambling, radios crackling. But amid the confusion, one detail slices through the noise. The cameras in the kitchen wing were the first to go offline. A targeted blackout. Someone is moving against Ortega. And the breach? It's not random. It's a diversion. She grips the duffel bag against her chest as she realizes the truth. They're coming for the evidence. The alarms keep screaming, echoing off the concrete walls like a warning coming from the prison itself. Inspector Ortega pushes through the chaos, clutching the duffel bag tight. Guards rush in every direction, but none toward the kitchen wing, the one place she knows the blackout was designed to hit. She moves fast, slipping down a dim corridor lit only by emergency lights. The air is hotter here, thick with humidity and the lingering smell of boiling rice and diesel fumes. Every shadow feels alive. Her pulse hammers. Someone planned this moment. Someone who needs the evidence destroyed. She reaches the service hallway that leads to the loading bay and stops cold. The security door is half open, its lock cut clean through. Inside, 3 figures dressed in kitchen uniforms sift through shelves and crates, searching frantically. They're not inmates. They're guards. Guards Ortega recognizes. One of them, Lieutenant Mendez, was on duty the night Eduardo died. He turns just enough to reveal a radio earpiece. They're coordinating with someone. She steps forward, voice sharp. Freeze. The men spin around. For a moment, no one moves. Mendez's expression gives away nothing. Cold, blank, professional. Then he speaks. You should have stayed out of this, Inspectora. The others close in, not with weapons drawn but with the confidence of men who believe the system itself shields them. Ortega lifts a hand toward her holster, then remembers her gun is locked in the director's office, part of entry protocol. She is unarmed, outnumbered, cornered, but not helpless. She reaches into the duffel bag and yanks out the USB drive. Take one more step, she warns, and this goes straight to federal investigators. Everything Eduardo found. Everything you've been hiding. Mendez hesitates just for a moment, long enough for Ortega to confirm what she already suspected. He's not the mastermind. He's just following orders. His radio crackles. A clipped voice whispers through it. Is it done? Mendez presses the button slowly, eyes locked on her. Not yet. She bolts. She darts back into the hallway, boots slamming against the concrete. Shouts erupt behind her. She doesn't look back. She knows the path, knows the twists of the corridor, the blind corners, the broken tiles along the wall. But she also knows something worse. Someone has access to the security grid. Someone knows exactly where she's running. She cuts left toward the old pantry, a forgotten wing sealed off after a fire years ago. As she enters, the cracked ceiling and collapsed shelves block most of the room, but it gives her cover. She crouches behind a fallen metal rack, heart-pounding, listening. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Mendez's voice follows. You're only delaying this, Inspectora. The people you're chasing, they run this prison. They run everything. She holds her breath, focusing her thoughts. She needs leverage, not just proof. She needs the person behind all of this. The mastermind. A faint hum interrupts her concentration. A soft mechanical whir from the back of the room. She follows the sound. Behind a torn tarp, she finds a small metal hatch she's never seen before, hidden behind storage crates. She pries it open. A maintenance crawl space. The noise grows louder. The whirring of machinery, computers, maybe even a generator. She crawls through. The passage leads her to a steel door, unmarked, reinforced. She pushes it open and freezes. Inside the hidden room sits a row of monitors, all powered by a private generator. Live camera feeds, supply logs, transaction lists, and at the center desk, Colonel Vargas. He looks up calmly, as though he expected her. Inspectora, he says, adjusting his glasses, you're becoming a very inconvenient problem. Her chest tightens. You were running the kitchen operation?
He sighs.
Running it? I built it. This prison survives because of deals no one wants to admit to. Without those funds, the entire system collapses. Eduardo didn't understand that. She takes a step closer. He understood enough to die for it. Vargas shakes his head.
No.
He died because he thought he could expose it without consequences. But he gestures to the bag. You're smarter. You can still walk away. She laughs bitterly. You think I'm going to walk away from murder? From a criminal enterprise hiding inside a government facility. Vargas leans back, unfazed. I think you'll do whatever keeps you alive. Mendez will be here in 30 seconds. Give me the evidence, and this ends quietly. She glances at the screens. One camera shows Mendez and the others closing in on the pantry. Another shows the blackout beginning to fade, power returning. Time is gone. She looks at Vargas. There's one thing you didn't account for. And what's that? She holds up a radio. The one she switched to broadcast mode before entering the crawl space. You've been confessing for the last 90 seconds. Vargas's eyes widen. Boots thunder behind her. She lunges toward the console and slams her palm on the emergency alarm, one that sends a distress signal directly to federal oversight. Armed response is already en route. Mendez bursts into the room. Vargas shouts, "Stop her." But it's too late. Sirens wail outside the prison walls, federal units surrounding the compound. Guards scramble. Inmates shout. The entire prison spirals into panic as authorities pour in, overriding the corrupt chain of command. Vargas is pulled from the room by federal agents minutes later, shouting warnings Ortega will never forget. You don't understand what you've started. This doesn't end with me. As he's dragged away, Ortega finally exhales. The kitchen racket is exposed. Eduardo is avenged. But his final file, the one labeled Kitchen Redistribution Plan, haunts her thoughts. Because in the final pages, Eduardo left a note. The kitchen is only one part. The real operation is bigger. Check the tunnels under cell block D. Ortega stares at the words, realizing the truth. La Sabaneta's darkest secrets were never in the kitchen. They were buried underground. If you thought this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one, hit subscribe so you don't miss it.